G'day ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me on my journey through the ecological dynamics and constraints-led approach for grappling. My name is Sam Fields and I am your host on this journey. I wanted to do a couple of things today. One is straight out apologise. I didn't take video. I thought about it for a brief moment, but one of our sort of consistent students who's been away for a month, he's back, and yeah, just sort of went out of my mind. But what I tried to do this morning was implement something a little bit different. I've heard a couple of times that the way sort of Greg Souders runs his classes is he basically touches on each range. So there's your standing, there's your guards, and then there's your pins. And I thought, yeah, okay, that's pretty good. That there's elements of make it stick, and he is a proponent of that, so that would make sense. And in the case of our curriculum, we're currently on side control. So the way I kind of thought about it was, okay, well, let's warm up with sort of a standing thing, because that definitely gets your heart pumping and your muscles warm and that sort of thing. And then go into like a half guard thing, which is very close to side control. So there's some elements there that will assist in kind of warming up to it, and then move into side control or the control pins aspect. So and it actually flowed quite well. I was very happy with that kind of I suppose if you look at it kind of percentage wise, the 20% on the standing aspect, and then say 30% on like a gain from the guard aspect, and then 50%. I'm going to play with it obviously, but and then 50% on the main focus of the technique week. And I actually really enjoyed it. I liked I liked how, as I said, the warm up, man. The warm up was great. So what we started with, and I'm going to play around with it for a bit, but initially the warm up was just get two hands on one of their limbs, whether it be wrist. So two hands on one wrist. And that was it. That was kind of a quick warm up, and then it went from someone has a grip, and then whoever gets a collar tie, so a hand over the back of the neck and a hand behind their shoulder, their tricep, and that worked out quite well as well. So it's obviously getting people attuned to it. And the other thing we then did was, you're basically at wrestling distance, and I'm just thinking now that I could improve this. And I was thinking on the way home, like, yeah, just that last game standing didn't really work. Like, it was to get. I was trying to warm people up, but I think I focused too much on warming up rather than actually having like an ecological dynamics approach to it. So, and particularly with those two pre-work warm-ups, having something like, because the game was wrestling distance, and you just had to touch the ankles. Okay, yep. It kept people warm. It allowed us to do level changes and all that sort of thing. But I think what would have been better is if we could have done something like all right, now we've done now we've organised to get to the collar tie. Here, there's two options now. One is you get the collar tie, or two, you touch their foot. And the reason why I say this is because what was happening heaps was someone would get the hand on the back, and then thered be a grip fight here, right? The other hand would be struggling to get around the back of that thing because there'd be a grip fight going on. If someone was focused on that grip fight and then all of a sudden this person dropped out and ankle tapped, it's such a better game. Little bit disappointed. Not disappointed. I'm learning, guys, so, work with me. The half guard, what we did was essentially have the opposite side underhook in half guard. And the goal was to free the leg, but by free the leg it was get a knee to the ground either side of their hips. Okay? And again, this kind of reiterated some stuff that we've done a while back, and it also gave that one was pretty good. I like that as a game, and I'll probably bring it back through. One thing I probably should be doing is writing out when I'm applying some of these games. Yeah, it's probably a good idea. I thought that this video log would kind of help that. And as you know, I've also had these session debrief things, but are they particularly relevant, if that makes sense? And by what I mean by are they particularly relevant, like if I'm doing it just on video, then there's no visual representation of what I've done in the past. Is that a bad thing though? I don't know. Going over something a few times throughout the year when we might have only stuck on it once or twice in a cycle. I'll get back to you on that. I'll read. I think I've got another book on my list. I still haven't. I'll be honest. I still haven't started this one. I think I've got a bit of PTSD from the density of these, and knowing that that's going to be as dense, if not denser. Whereas there's another couple of books that I picked up when I was looking at Make It Stick. So Make It Stick, awesome book. I do want to go back through it again, but there's another book that I'm going to read, Ultra Learning. So I'm hoping that also has some cool little tips. The main thing I've got to do with them is actually sit down and write notes, because again, there's a lot of good information, but I'm not really, I'm listening to it and then kind of hodgepodging it because I don't have, weirdly enough, a bit of a system to put it in. So I'm just having a bit of a thought, bit of a revelation. Maybe I need to systemize my coaching while gamifying. Right? If you've been watching this channel, you'll know what I'm referring to there. The other thing I wanted to do today, just quickly, these guys here, the Beyond Jiu Jitsu podcast, they look, happy Aussies, good blokes, I imagine. I'm sure they're good jiu-jitsu practitioners. They seem funny, all that kind of thing. But they did this, the truth about ecological jiu-jitsu, why it's hyped up but falls short. And, to be honest, it was one of the first podcasts that I listened to. And even back then, I think it was in that 2 weeks where I went from that's not really for me to I'm all in. But during that, I think I listened to this one and I realised that because of all the other stuff I was listening to, and I was trying to, one of the things you should always do is try to listen to both sides of the story and steelman their argument as much as your argument, right? Now, I looked at when I started looking at ecological dynamics, I started going, but oh yeah, okay, that's interesting. Maybe we could do a little bit of it, and all these things that I've heard countless times since. But these guys were just straight out shitting on it. Now, I don't know the bloke, this guy on the right here. He was just like, nah, it's just repackaged situational sparring. And that's not what it is. I mean, it really is not situational sparring. It's, in order to get into it, you have to realise that it's kind of looking at the fundamental, and he'll say, yeah, but you're just repackaging, using, this new terminology and double enclosures and all that. I mean, this is what they said on the podcast. Maybe they've changed their tune since then. I don't want to know. No, just kidding. If they have, awesome. I do know that, I gave myself a little comment there for you. But yeah, I think, here we go. So this is one of the most misinformed discussions I've ever heard, and it's so true. It is so true. They literally carted out every cliched and easily debunked, well, not, I wouldn't say easily debunked, but debunked if you understand it, objections to, and he says, whatever this guy, he goes, if you come to me with, a whole heap of, I'll have 100 arguments to debunk your side or something. He said something along those lines, and I was just like, halfway through it, and I'm just tearing out what little hair I have. Fortunately, I don't tear it. This is more for stroking than tearing. But yeah, it was terrible. I get that they in some ways were probably yes, they believe it, but they were, he's probably just sort of unleashing because he's invested. And one of the issues that most of the old guard will have is that they've invested so much time and energy. And one of his things was, and I've heard it, I heard it from John Danaher. He said, why would you've got thousands of years of people, information gathered by people much better at this than you could imagine, and we're standing on their shoulders, and it's just they talk about it like you're literally just going, okay. And I mentioned it yesterday with Kip Dale's stuff, where it was it feels a bit like they are looking at Kip Dale's task-based games and going, well, that's just situational sparring because that's what that was, right? And so they're looking at that and going, well, that seems to be fairly constrained in the constraints-led approach, whereas it's not the constraints-led approach. And so what they see is situational sparring, attribute that to the constraints-led approach, then shit on that as an option because that's not what it is. It's really, really frustrating when you know that that's not what that is. and like they're talking about beginners. You wouldn't throw beginners, and this is one of the issues I had with the some of the Kit Dale's things. Is he's like, okay, get inside control. All right, now get out of side control. And it's like, what does that mean? You know, like the person on the bottom who's exceptional. Like, let's say you said that to a purple belt and a white belt. Well, the purple belt's getting out within a couple of seconds, and the white belt is going to be under there for 5 minutes. You know, that's not a constraints-led approach, and that's probably what they're referring to. Like, they're thinking, oh, well, we don't have to worry about anything. You're constraining it down to someone being under side control, and they have to get out. But that's not it. And you know, one of the games we played today, the reason why I'm talking about side control, was keeping someone down with no hands. So you can use your elbows to kind of block things, but no hands, right? So there's no gripping onto anything or anything like that. You have to use your center mass to hold them down, and the person on the bottom is the same deal. They cannot, you know, grab posts or anything. They have to use their body movement in order to get out, and like that was one of the things. So shit, have I just completely? Yeah, so this is going to be a longer video, guys. Yeah, so after the half guard drill, went into side control, no hands and pin, and then the same deal but with hands. And you could it was side control, and you had to go from what would be normally called a long base side control, or a side control where you're mostly controlling the hips, to the exact same position, just mirror imaged on the other side. You could do that any way you liked. Most people tried to go around the head. I did try and go over the hips, but that didn't quite work. But yeah, so that was the constraint, was to start off with no hands. You could use your elbows, but there was no gripping onto anything. So, and you know what that showed was, what we showed was that there was a significant amount of pressure that was required. There were certain things that assisted you, so blocking hips as you went round, so using your elbow to block the hips so that they couldn't follow you, you know, that kind of stuff. That when you're playing with hands, you know, if you got a white belt to just go round north-south from long base side control to the other side long base side control, then you might find that they'd be trying to hold arms and all that kind of stuff, whereas this took that out of the equation. And then once you put it into an actual roll, you know, they had these posts that were also assisted by their center mass pinning the torso. Anyway, I think that's I think the thing that's missing is that most, and someone else has said it, but most people are missing the why. They know the how, they're missing the why, and the why is the most important, because when you understand the why, you can do the how at any position, essentially. So these guys, I'm not saying that they don't know jiu-jitsu. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that they're shitting on the approach when they're basically taking a straw man argument. So, you know, and going, well, it's just like repackaged situational sparring. It's not. And yeah, anyway, people much better than me obviously have done it. You know, Greg Souders, obviously, Preet Mickelson, a whole, you know, Rob Cole, and Kabir Bath. All of these guys have done it much better than I have. Yeah. Anyway, this is Sam Battlefield. Thanks for joining me on the ecological dynamics and constraints-led approach to grappling. See you soon. Peace.